What? Mine. Okay, people, welcome back to another Fwoosh review. Today, let's take a look at what the hell this wave is called. I've seen it called Wave 29, Wave 4, I don't know. It's Star Wars. That's all that matters. And it's been a while since we've looked at a whole wave. And I think I say that every time I look at a whole wave. I've become predictable. But in this wave, from the Bad Batch, we have Crosshair and we have Hunter. Then there is the Elite Squad Trooper. From Clone Wars, there's Asajj Ventress. And from the Mandalorian, originally the Clone Wars, is Bo-Katan. There's color coordination for each show. The Mandalorian is kind of an orangey. Clone Wars is more yellow, and then red for the Bad Batch. Or, well, more of a maroon color. On the back, bios and bigger pictures for each of the characters. Just gives you a little background in case you didn't watch Clone Wars like somebody you all know. If you're watching this video, you know who I'm talking about. And then Bad Batch for the new show coming up. On the side windows, just some color stripes. I miss those big fonts. Windows on top, letting light shine down into the dark packaging. On bottom, UPCs, legalese. But let's get these open and let's start with the Clone Trooper. Mostly because I think this is the most reuse out of the wave. But I think it's a surprising mix of parts. I guess the easiest way to find out would be to actually open it up. And this is very, very interesting. First off, I love me a good clone action figure anyway, so I was predetermined to go, that's pretty cool. But Hasbro has changed things up with this release. For the upper body, the arms, and the head, we get that new clone body. The chest is resculpted, the arms are single elbow, the elbow pads are a separate piece overlay. The helmets are a new sculpt too, but they have a very animated look to them from the Clone Wars, which both of these, is the Camino based on Clone Wars? I think it is. And overall, I like the proportions. The case can be made that the shoulder pads need to be bigger. At the same time, I like the silhouetted cuts. But for the bottom half, from the waist down, they went back to the original clone mold. Double knees. On the new ones, the knee pads are a separate piece with the strap coming around and it's a single knee. Here, the knee pads are part of the sculpt between the double knees. Now, I never had a problem with the single knees here. I will admit, this is kind of the best of both worlds. It adds a little weight to the bottom of the figure. I haven't had a problem standing it up at all. But I love Shadow Troopers, so this being in that darker color, it's not black, it's a very, very dark gray, but it has a metallic sheen to it. It's so pretty. But then the undersuit is black, so there's a nice contrast between those that is very, very subtle. But most of all, oh, the green lenses in the helmet. That just sets it off. It stands out. That's what your eye is drawn to. I can already tell you, I'm going to need a few of these. There's also that unpainted head glued under the helmet. You can't pull it off. I don't know why they've done that. Maybe to make the neck articulation the same across the board? I don't know. But like I've said about all the new clones and the new stormtroopers, this strap coming across this elbow has the potential to slice and cut. You can see on the Camino clone where I've had him holding his blaster across his body like this, there's a split in it. Going over articulation, there is that a dumbbell joint up at the top with a ball joint down at the bottom of the neck? Can look slightly up, can look down. Nice tilt for a helmet though. Swivel. Had to break the butterfly joint loose. Butterfly joint goes forward and back. Shoulder pad is a softer piece glued at the bottom, so it's going to go up and over when you hinge up the shoulder to 90. Rotates around. Like I said, single elbow does come past 90. Swivels, swivel, and then hinge up and down on a trigger finger. Love it. Nice hula hoop at the ball joint in the mid-torso. But going back to the older clone waist and legs, the armor coming up like this, right there. But if you turn it, you can keep going until you're almost 90. Back, about 45. Swivel at the thigh, beautifully integrated behind this armor piece. Double knee, let's see. It's been a long time since I've done this. It's past 90. Will not allow ass kicking. Hinge at the ankle, you can see the armor hanging down on the back. You go that far, but it goes forward nicely. And then forward-facing pin for rocker. For accessories, comes with the clone blaster we've seen with several of these new release clones. It's cool. It works. Appropriate. He looks intimidating. The Elite Squad clone stands at 6 3/16 to the top of the ridge on the helmet, which does stand even with the new-bodied clones, but slightly taller than the old clones. And yeah, there's those bigger shoulder pads on the old clone. Matches up perfectly with the Ahsoka clone, but slightly taller than Captain Rex. Next up, let's take a look at the Bad Batch Hunter. And there's no rhyme or reason to the order here. It comes down to, well, here's this, and the next figure is going to use parts and pieces of this, and then this, and then... While I don't have as much attachment to the Bad Batch crew as I do other Star Wars characters, just opening Hunter before I even get to Crosshair, it's making me a huge fan already. There is an animated feel to the figure. Black Series is good about taking those cartoon characters, integrating it into the rest of the collection, which is mostly live action stuff. But there's places like right here, or some planes of the armor, and you think, that looks just like from the show. You get up close, and there's some wear and tear to the armor pieces, some dings, some scrapes, some scratches, and that's essentially all over the body. Anytime you can hit the light right, you can see the extra detail. Some places it's deeper and more prominent, like here too, and then some places it's just almost like a rust taking over a bit. It does kind of get lost in the plainness, like if there was a wash, it'd stand out a lot more, but then there's also, not so much on the back, but there's some silver paint to show some edge wear. And then the tampos for the 99 on the shoulder pads, the skull, the red stripes here and there, the darker gunmetal colors. For some reason, the front of the shins are glossy, because you get around to the sides, it's matte. And then a shine, but not as glossy as that. It's just right here. But looking at the overall armor, it's sleek, it looks very maneuverable, but still protective. And then up at the head, again, slight animated feel, but then the photoreal of the eyes bring a realism to it. Kind of reminds me of Billy from Predator, and I'm sure that has been said before. I think we've seen this with a couple of other more recent Star Wars figures, but they've taken the shoulder pads, attached them to a tiny tab that's very flexible, and then sandwiched the ring between the shoulder and the torso. So it gets out of the way of the arm, but it also rotates with it around. So it's a nice design. If you raise it up and bring it back down, it likes to stay stuck out there, but put it back down. The whole body, and we haven't got to Crosshair yet, there's some reuse between those two, but the body overall is all new sculpt. The feet look very, very close to the old clone troopers, but the shape, you can see the difference on the sole too. The feet are slightly larger. Going over articulation, there is a, what's up there? Is it a dumbbell joint at the top of the neck with a ball joint going down into the torso? Looks up, looks down. Oh, so beautiful. Swivel. I can't really see if there's a dumbbell joint in there. It looks like there is. There's not a lot of movement to it. Yeah, there's a butterfly joint. There it is right there. But I'm not getting any movement out of it. Shoulder hinges, whoa, up, and then rotates around. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, comes up. Oh, that's not bad range at all. Very nice. Rotates, swivel at the wrist, and then up and down on a weapon wielding hand, side to side on the other. Ball in the mid torso, excellent range. That also rotates. Same thing as the clone. You come up, the armor starts hitting there, but if you rotate the leg, it comes up to 90. Back, out. Yeah, I can't complain about that. Swivel at the thigh. Single hinge at the knee comes up past 90. The knee pad is a softer piece glued to the top, so it hides that bend for the most part. Then that rotates. Ankle hinges back, hinges forward. Forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, comes with a backpack. It fits the overall scheme design of the armor itself. Some red, some stripes, some little designs, some wear and tear. You can see the scratches, dings, and scrapes. At first I thought, man, that pin is not very big at all, but once you get it in the body, it's very sturdy. Comes with this bigger blaster. I love the design of this. I don't know what this is hanging off under here. Is this something? It shoots stuff, I guarantee you. Push and twist. It is easy to put into a two-handed pose. Also comes with this pistol. I feel like we've seen this before. Maybe not, I don't know. But a nice little design, just cast in black. Fits nicely in the hand. In fact, that's a bit intimidating. And drop it. And then my favorite accessory, probably because it's Hunter's favorite accessory, his knife. There's a nice yellow design applied to the blades, even on both sides. That's cool. Fits perfectly into his hand. And if you want to store it away, which is kind of the problem with the guns, there's no place to put the pistol or anything. If you want to store the knife, that goes into, no, that's the wrong way. Flip it around, goes this way. That stores under his left forearm. Yeah. And then probably my least favorite accessory is the helmet. It looks good, right? It has the paint job, it has the scrapes, it fits the scheme, but it's meant to slip over his head, and you can already see where I'm going with this. It just looks big. I mean, it works. It's a helmet. In this case, I probably would have preferred swappable heads. Get the helmet size down slightly. I was going to do size and comparisons, but I might as well do Hunter and Crosshair at the same time. I have a feeling that a lot I just said about Hunter, is this childproof or something? I'll have the same things to say about Crosshair for the most part. Like I said, it's more the same for Crosshair. More the same awesomeness. To get it out of the way, Hunter and Crosshair share the same legs, the same crotch pieces, the same lower torsos, same arms, but then it is different shaped torsos, different shoulder pads, different heads. Surprise. But even if it is a different sculpt, it's the same detail to match all the way around. So the characters match between themselves too. There's gouges on the shoulder pads, the same black, the red stripe coming around pretty heavy, tampo of a skull, and the 99. On this side you have this rubbery thing sticking out of it. Well, the whole shoulder pad is rubbery, the ring going in, the flexiness here, so you're not going to stab yourself. But it's also not going to break off. That's a good thing. There's also this belt, a holster, which is handy when you have a pistol. Comes up into this bandolier with the, I guess, these shells for his big ass sniper, and this pad. At first I thought, well, that's kind of weird, but then I realized puts the butt of that big honkin' sniper rifle that probably has some recoil on it, protects him a little bit more. It is glued down right here, so it's not going to slide off into the arm. Shoulder pads work the same way. It's that small tab going to a ring between the shoulder and the torso. And then up at the head, there's the shininess. I didn't notice it much with Hunter. Yeah, I guess he is shiny. But even if you hadn't seen anything with this character, you'd look at him and go, oh, he's the best and he knows it. The subtleness of the crosshair over the right eye, the photo real, a nice mix of realism and animated style. Same shininess to the shins. Again, I don't know what that's about. It may be a design thing. Maybe I haven't paid enough attention when I've seen these characters in the Clone Wars. Maybe it's different for the Bad Batch cartoon. Just pointing it out. Again, I'd like to see both of these with a wash to it. Put some dirtiness down inside those grooves. See how much they stand out. Oh, his is much more butterfly joiny. That actually stays in positions. On Hunter, again, yeah, I don't know if it's because it's a different sculpt and it's a smaller hole or something, but it just doesn't have the same range. Is it on both sides? Broke free? Yeah. Going over articulation, again, dumbbell at the top, ball joint at the bottom, can look up, can look down. So much tilt. That's better than imports. Swivel, butterfly at the shoulder again, goes forward and back. Shoulder hinges up really, really far. Swivels all the way around. And you see what I just did there? The ring didn't rotate all the way around with it, but if that happens, just pull it around. There you go. Hinge and swivel at the elbow, but nice range for a single hinge. And then rotation. Trigger finger hand goes up and down, goes around. The belt and bandolier being loose at the bottom doesn't really get in the way of hula hoop. Tilt, 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 tilt. And then below, again, works just like Hunter. Comes up, rotates, does, well, a little past 90 actually. Back, out, beautiful. Swivel at the thigh. Single hinge and swivel at the knee, again, hidden behind this rubbery knee pad. Rotation, hinge at the ankle goes back, forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, another backpack, but different from Hunter's. There's only one side on it, this slot right here, this peg hole. But again, odd shaped peg, goes in nice and tight, isn't going to rotate solid. Get the same pistol we saw with Hunter 2, a nice little sculpt. And there's just something about these two guys pointing a gun at you. Looks almost scary, but fantastic. He comes with a holster though. Weapon storage is always appreciated, because most of the time he's going to be holding the big honkin' sniper rifle. Have the scope, have the barrel. With these, it's always a little harder to get them in the hand because you can't shove down and twist. You have to kind of force it. Again, it's been a while since I have seen the episodes with Bad Batch in them. Is the gun this big? But with the up and down hinge, you can seat the stock in the shoulder and then bring the other arm up. And it's not too bad. It is slightly long here, but it is damn close. But if you want them in just a neutral position or using the pistol or hiking across a planet or something, it does pop off the end of it. Just slide that in, and then there's a peg on the side of the barrel. And that looks good, even with that added weight on the back, not a problem standing. Slightly leaning forward. If you get them straight up and down, it is a bit too much. Well, of course. There you go. Perfect. And then finally, of course, it's a clone. It has a helmet, and it's very unique to Crosshair because it has the bigger eye, his aiming eye. And then the rangefinder, of course, being a sniper, comes down. But it's essentially the same problem I had with Hunter. You put it on, it just looks slightly large. Oh, well, look at that. Hunter is shorter than Crosshair. I believe it's in the torsos. Of course, well, that's the only different parts. Crosshair stands at 6 1/8, while Hunter stands at just barely under 6 inches. And then here they are with the elite squad trooper from this wave and Captain Rex. I love how individual they are. They stand out while also looking like part of a team. That's just awesome. Next up, we're going to take a look at Asajj Ventress. And I'm just noticing something here, even though it was the same with the Bad Batch guys. The background being that plain off-white color, it doesn't do the figure any favors, especially when her skin tone is kind of an off-white color. But at the same time, it's just the trash around my plastic. It's not gonna be there for long. And it's always good to add to the villain slash Sith shelf, the dark side display. I didn't realize at first that there was this much reuse. Well, okay, the torso is new, the upper arms are new, belt and the skirt is new, and of course the head is new. Get to the lower arms, and they are from Dark Ray. And then underneath are the wrapped legs. So you can thank Darth Ray for giving us an Asajj Ventress. Go ahead, thank her. Thank her! Some of you aren't gonna like that there's a soft goods skirt. This front piece is a stiffer plastic piece, but I also like that it has the sculpted detail in it. Love the shimmer of this. It just bounces the light nicely. It may look a bit flat, but you can take that and kind of give it around and put some wrinkles in it. That works nicely behind the lavender and the gold that works up to the belt buckle here. There's a slight little orange right in the middle. But then for the belt, there is this purplish hue to it, this lavender hue. On the front, you can see a white dry brush on top of it that makes for a cool effect. I wish that had traveled all the way around. Then there's the wraps around the torso. The open top a bit comes down to sleeves, sculpted mid-bicep. And then like the legs, well, are the legs painted like that? No, there's one color. There may be a light dry brush on top of it, but there's actual stripes painted into the forearms. But then it's the head just staring straight into your soul. At different angles with shade and shadow and light bouncing off of it, it does look like the eyes are looking slightly in different directions, but if you get it straight on, they are painted straight. Believe me, you can trust me. I love the red of the lips, especially against the pale whiteness of the skin, but you'll see that the blue stripes coming off of it, they are offset a bit. Also see these two dots are a bit off when you look at them in comparison to the eyes, or well, the nose comes right up to here. From what I hear from other people, some are good, some are bad, some are worse than this. So I'm pretty happy to get it this close. I also like how if you just have regular light on it, sunken cheeks really stand out at you. But then there's the detail work coming around the back of the head, up the center. That all looks good. Oh, and then the back muscles showing through. I didn't even... But I feel like the overall piece works, and it works better than the traffic cone effect of this. Well, it's not really a traffic cone. It splits and you can get some leg articulation, but if you do, it's always sticking straight out. Here, it just feels more natural if the dress rides up and it's in a more action pose. It just lays more realistically. For articulation, yep, you guessed it. There's a dumbbell joint up at the top, ball joint at the bottom. Look up, not as good as I feel like it should be. Down, not bad tilt. Swivel, hinge at the shoulder comes up, swivels all the way around. Hinge swivel at the elbow, pretty nice range, then rotates. Swivel at the wrist and then hinge inside for a dual lightsaber wielding character. They are both in and out. Ball joint at the waist, hidden behind the cloth, behind the belt, and there is nice range there. Rotates, ball coming out to the hip, comes up, goes back, out. Is the skirt stopping it? Yeah, better than most Spider-Mans. Rotation at the thigh. Single knee comes up past 90. Rotates. Hinge at the ankle goes back. Goes back better and forward. And then forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, you get these two bad boys. Dual wield lightsabers, nice detail to the hilt. It has the stripes. Notice the peg here, the peg hole here. You can plug these into an S position. So on top of having the Dooku design to each hilt, it goes together Darth Maul style. This is not me making excuses for Hasbro, because I definitely would prefer up and down hinges. If you grip the lightsaber closer to the blade here, it's straight up and down. If you want it pointing more out, down around the other side of the curve. Not bad, but again, up and down hinge would have been just... But if you're a vanilla pose kind of person who doesn't want the lightsabers out, the lightsaber blades do pull out of the hilts. There's pins on the inside of them that plug into these peg holes in the belt buckle. And that's not bad looking, perfectly acceptable. I love storage, but then you're left with these blades. So you might as well have her using them, right? If you're not using them, the holes don't really stand out at you. Asajj stands at 5 11/16 inches tall, which looks great next to the Black Series Count Dooku and Obi-Wan. And then finally, let's open up Bo-Katan. Always a good day when I add to the Mandalorian shelf. Some interesting engineering going on here, on top of being another kick-ass character for the shelf. But on top of that engineering, very nice detailed sculpt work. The sculpted bodysuit underneath with the various wrinkles in places, just around the legs, the seam lines. But of course, being Mandalorian, it's the armor plates that really stand out at you, like the back of the bracers. We're used to seeing this by now. Armored shoulder pads, the chest plate. There's not a lot of wear and tear like we saw with the Bad Batch, but there is some paint detail work where it looks like it's been rubbed across. The intricate belt buckle with the pouches coming all the way around, because you always need pouches. Again, another staple of Mandalorian armor, the shape of these knee pads coming down to some shins. Nothing on the thighs though, but that's more a mobility thing, I guess. Well, out here there is under the holsters. Nice Western type boot sculpt with the brown colors and the grayness of here, the blues, the orangey browns. But on top of that, it looks like it's worn through in places that I really like. The armor has seen some battle. Up at the head, it's missing some shading, and I don't know if it's because of so much head exposed, the hair pulled back, but looking at the sculpting itself, it is dead on. And then the photo reel totally works here. The hair sculpt that I think is a little flat, but that's to accommodate the helmet. One thing that stands out at me though is the colors. Everything is a little brighter than what we actually saw in The Mandalorian. I'm guessing they used some concept art, and at the first it probably was more evocative of the animated series from Clone Wars. Even though the browns and the blues were probably a little darker there, but this hair color is straight up Clone Wars. But again, this totally works, and it's not always going to be in these bright lights. One of the engineering things I mentioned earlier that caught me off guard is this whole upper piece is actually a rubber overlay. You see the collar coming up around the neck, there's a ball joint down in there, but it moves out of the way slightly. It moves with the neck. But what really made me notice was there are butterfly joints, but I thought, man, those are really sunk down in there. There's no way there's movement to it. But the rubber piece flexes out of the way as you push the arm back or forward. That also causes less gap around the torso joint. When you go to bend it, it gets out of the way there too. Going over articulation, dumbbell joint, ball joint, can look up, down, so much tilt. Swivel, because of the rubber overlay piece, the shoulder pad can be glued all the way down. It just rides under as you hinge up the shoulder to there, rotates around, hinge and swivel at the elbow, does come slightly past 90, not as nice as some of the other figures. Rotation, swivel, getting back to an up and down hinge for a trigger finger hand. Ball joint mid-torso gets pretty good movement. Ball coming out to the hip, comes forward, goes back, out, not too shabby. Swivel at the thigh, oh look at that, the armor rides around. Hinge and swivel at the knee does come up past 90, and again, like the others, the knee pad is rubbery. Then that swivels. Hinge at the ankle goes, whoa, all the way back. Forward facing pin for rocker. For accessories, comes with 2 of these Mandalorian style pistols. These are not the pistols that came with Sabine. These are a bit smaller to fit the realism of the show itself. Goes into the hand very, very nicely. But if you don't want her holding them, there's always the holsters. Comes with her jetpack, nice detail to it. The blues and the silvers, as this sticking up on the side, the rocket on top. You put this on the back and it fits so nicely. And then of course you have her helmet, that very stylized look to the visor, the paint up on top, the eyes staring at you. The blacks, the whites, the blues, everything works. Then the rangefinder on this also drops down. Like I mentioned, the hair is a bit flattened, which helps keep the helmet at a more realistic size when she's wearing it. Not as big as the Bad Batch guys. This looks like it's actually under there, again, because her hair is smushed. She stands at about 5 5/8 inches tall, which works well with other Mandalorian characters like Din Djarin, or if you want to use her in a earlier display next to Sabine. Again, earlier with the Mandalorian Loyalist, or later with the Boba Fett after he got his armor back. So at the end of the day, just a really nice little wave. Bo-Katan, they're going to keep the Mandalorian love going. That's just going to be an all-year thing. The series was too popular. Also calls back to the Clone Wars, where they gave us Asajj Ventress too. Another animated style character that translates perfectly into the more realistic style of the Black Series. The Elite Squad Trooper has been used several times before, but I think they have the formula down now. I still love that complete new style clone trooper, but I also like it with new above, old below. And then for Hunter and Crosshair, not as easy to translate into a more realistic style, but it still gets me excited for the upcoming series. Hell, it makes me want to go back and watch season 7 again. So yeah, not as much spread as we usually see. No original trilogy, no sequels, no prequels, This is, well, this is all TV show, isn't it? Whether it be cartoon or live action. And there's nothing wrong with that, especially with the Bad Batch show right around the corner. It's perfect timing. And then hopefully we can get some reuse for Acoska Reeves. Is that Sasha Banks' character? I always forget her name. And then of course we're going to get the rest of the Bad Batch. We've been shown Wrecker, we've been teased Tech. Are they going to give us Echo or any of the other characters in the show? And before that, I'm going to need more of those troopers because I love that color scheme, especially the green. So if you enjoyed the review, comment, like, subscribe. Much love to the plus. If you're interested in seeing videos early or just in a position to help out the channel, patreon.com. But wherever you may be watching this, I always catch you on the Fwoosh. Yeah, it's a shame about the size of these helmets. They look fantastic. I like their personality showing through in their individual faces. So yeah, they'll be helmetless on the shelf. I may need an extra. Have one in the helmet, one out, and then do a paint job with the darker browns and blues. You know, for all that customizing time I put in.